on to the next MCU movie, and that was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. My oh my, how it turned the MCU on its head. So it was released in 2014, and that was actually the year that I started to work on my mental health with my counselor. And I most recently watched this movie on December 10th, 2018. As much as I enjoyed Cap's speech and that elevator fight scene, I couldn't really find anything to talk about in those regards in how it relates to what I'm going through and how I feel. Maybe it's gonna mean something to me more in the future, or it probably meant something to me back then other than it just being cool. It wasn't anything that really inspired me as much as I enjoyed watching it. But I think the thing that really stood out was when Steve was talking with Peggy while she was in her nursing home. And I sort of truncated the entire conversation just to these few lines, but you kind of get the idea. Anyway, the quotes and moments. Peggy says, "I have lived a life. My only regret is that you didn't get to live yours." Steve, I don't know where in the conversation this was, but Steve says, "For as long as I can remember, I just wanted to do what was right. I guess I'm not quite sure what that is anymore. And I thought I could throw myself in and follow orders, serve. It's just not the same." And lastly, Peggy at some point is talking, and she says, "All we can do is our best. And sometimes the best we can do is start over." And then it wasn't really a moment or an exact moment or quote, but throughout the movie you can see Sam Wilson kind of debating with himself, looking for a reason to get back in as a soldier. And he kind of finds that when Cap looks to him to help take down Hydra, and afterwards to help find Bucky. I guess I'll start with Sam's experience trying to find a reason to go back into being a soldier and helping Cap. And I guess how that kind of parallels is I've been looking for a reason to get back into engineering. I mean, I kind of try to remember and try to rethink about that spark that really made me go all in on engineering. And sometimes I talk with my peers again, and sometimes it's enticing, sometimes it's and then I just kind of remember my experience and like, I don't know if I want to do that. And yeah, I kind of feel like I'm this gas stove, not because I'm huge, but because the spark keeps like but then there's no gas, and then that doesn't light the fire, and then it doesn't sustain. It's like, that's kind of how I feel about engineering right now. Like, part of me still wants to give it a chance. Part of me may look or wants to give it a chance to try it again. Maybe it was my company, maybe I wasn't doing the right type of engineering, maybe maybe I'm being a whiny millennial and I just gave up early, whatever. But I'm just, that's kind of how it feels right now. But on the other end of that spectrum is when Peggy says all we can do is our best, and sometimes the best thing we can do is start over. Did I do my best in engineering? Maybe not. Like I said, I could have been more proactive in actually trying to find that engineering job instead of taking a break and trying to find myself or whatever. But maybe I need to start over. And not start a new life, but take what I've learned and go in a completely new direction. Maybe that means going back to school for a different career. I just kind of wish I knew what it was first. Maybe it's just, scrapping everything I know and going back to basics. I don't know. That's kind of why I'm on this break. I need to figure out what I need to do. Do I start over, or do I run with it, or a mix of both? I don't know. And here's the thing about what Steve says when he says he thought he could just serve, but things just aren't the same anymore. And I guess that kind of parallels how I first felt about engineering. Doing an engineering job, it's like I thought I could just do it. I thought I could just do what I was told, but then I realized how much I just had issues with it. It's not to say that there's no job that's not going to be stressful or hard, but this was a different type of I did not like it. It just wasn't the same. And part of me is worried that as much as I do want to give engineering a chance, or even any other career for that matter, I throw myself in and I think I can do it, and then I just can't. Part of me is pretty worried about that, because that shows that I'm just a lazy who doesn't want to work. Or I messed up again and I still don't know what I want to do. Now I kind of clash with my mom on this a little bit. It's not that there's no job that's not going to be stressful. It's just, some jobs fit better than others, and there's one that you really want to do, and others that you're just not cut out for. And if you really wanted it, then you'd go for it. But like I mentioned earlier, I don't feel that motivated to do so. Going back to Peggy saying she lived her life and she just regrets that Steve didn't get to live his. That's why I'm really debating on whether or not engineering is for me, because as good as a job as engineering is, speaking from a pragmatic standpoint, stable, comfortable, pretty decent paying, benefits, interesting for the most part. It's is that all there is? Just kind of work, go home, do your hobbies, attend to your family, and just every single day just kind of die? It kind of reminds me that I want to do some kind of work that has an impact. And frankly, with engineering and with, given my grades and my experience or lack thereof, and some of the things I'm not willing to compromise on, I'm just going to be a grunt office worker for the rest of my life. And I don't know if I can do that. I want to be able to live my life and experience things. I'm pretty sure I'll get into this more in another movie reflection. I look at my parents and they have experienced twice as much than I have experienced when they were my age. I mean, they moved to a new country, traveled around a lot. They, and that's just the baseline. And then eventually throw me in and have a family together, that's a whole other thing. So I want to be able to live my life, I don't want to just function through it. I had depression for so long that's kind of how it felt. It's oh, how are you doing? It's I'd rather say I'm functioning more than I'm living. Because living means you get to experience things. It means you get to experience life. And, whether that's meeting new people, making something, making a difference, making an impact. Life is complex. I don't know where that came from. In the way that Captain America, the Winter Soldier, was able to turn the MCU on its head, I'm kind of looking for the moment in my life where I can turn my life around. I mean, you know, I feel like I'm still in the middle of that U-turn, or whatever turn I'm making, be it a fork, a loop. I'm still turning, and it's gonna take a while before I get to that straightaway where I know where my goal is. Not to say that there won't be obstacles or other turns along the way, but I'm still in the middle of whatever this turn is. That was a weird analogy, but I'll run with it.